Welcome to the grind.
There's a 2-hour window I get to see my woman. There's a clock ticking on her. It ain't my friend. Work wasn't easy, but we've been fit. Oh, I'm home, and she's off to bed. Oh, no. Money, my baby liar. Money.
Welcome to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Devin Murray. We are back for another day in the NBA. Last night, we got some tricks, not any treats on the betting front. Unfortunately, we went 1-2 with a bad hedge. Donovan Mitchell was a late clear, and I got scared, and I hedged off some money, and the Knicks ended up running away with it. Should have known better. Tried to play it safe. Got burned. And then, of course, I bet on the Suns. They're up 18 at the half. And not only do they not cover 6, they just go ahead and outright lose. And hopefully you saw the highlights. If you didn't, right there at the end, they were up 3 with like 7 seconds left. Wemby puts back in a dunk. Was it a putback or I think it was just a roll to the basket. Dunk. They inbounded to KD. He gets fouled by Trey Jones so hard that Trey Jones is apologizing to KD while the ball's still in play. San Antonio steals it, lays it up. Their only lead of the game, and they win by 1. They win by 1. Yeah. Did you see what I did there? Everyone is obviously going to make a big stink about this game and blow it out of proportion. But if you go back and watch the second half, the Suns seemed pretty uninterested in the whole affair. Yeah, KD kind of turned it on late, but by that point, it was already a game. The crowd was already kind of nervous. It seemed like the crowd kind of wanted to see what Wemby could do. Like, I don't think that they were super upset with what they had to watch. If you're going to have a loss at home like that, you probably want it to be to a guy like Victor Wembanyama. It didn't seem like a whole lot of disgust from the crowd. It was more like a wow. And there's plenty to love from Wembanyama's performance, but there's also, there's plenty to nitpick at. There's some bad turnovers. There's some wondering if he can really handle the ball with how tall he is and how long it takes for him to dribble it down to the ground. Because if he's going to have a low dribble, then he kind of loses the whole benefit of being super tall. And I know that Greg Popovich knows basketball more than I do, but I wish that I saw more of the pick and roll actions for Wembanyama. They love running it with Zach Collins, but Zach Collins kind of sucks. The one thing that I did like that I saw was in the second half, Pop staggered Sohan's and Wembanyama's minutes. As I've said a few times on the pod, I don't really like how Jeremy Sohan kind of clogs things up. The way that he likes to run his offense whenever you have Wembanyama out there. They staggered them in the third quarter, staggered them in the fourth quarter. And this wasn't a game where it was really like a big run that got them back into it. They just slowly chipped away at it. They'd get it down to 12 and go back to 15. It was 20 a couple times in the third quarter. And then they'd get it down to 9, back to 11, 7, 9. Just back and forth, just slowly whittling away. Little advanced stats to back up my bias that I found. Wemby and Sohan are a -7 together. And they've had a lot of minutes together. That's not really like a blip on the radar. I know it's early in the season, but... And as we talked about yesterday, I don't think we got a full game of Eric Gordon trying. We got about a half a game of Eric Gordon trying. But in the second half, it was a little shaky from the floor and on defense. But again, Wemby's a freak. He's going to be great. But this game, as far as what this means for this season, I don't think it lowers the ceiling for the Suns at all. And I don't think it really raises the ceiling for the Spurs. But there is a give a crap factor with Victor that you do like seeing out of a rookie. He was pumped after that win. And then I was wrong with the trick-or-treater speculation in Los Angeles. The Magic were clearly ready to just head straight to the club. Came out flat, stayed flat the whole game. But this is what happens when you say that you're going to bet on every game. At some point, I should probably change that, or at least like rank them in order of confidence. But here early in the season, we're just throwing crap against the wall. It's nice to have a stake in something, so you're really paying attention to what's winning, what's losing, and oh baby, have we had some losers lately. Speaking of losers, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's game. We have 13 games. I'm a little exhausted from researching all of them this morning. And more than anything, I discovered the advanced stats section on NBA.com. For a long time, I've been wondering, where do all these other podcasts get all these crazy stats? I figured it was something that you'd have to pay for. But no, you can just go look it all up yourself. To an extent that is kind of crazy. I mean, they track literally everything. And there's a ton that you can click on for each player, all of their shot attempts. And it'll just, if you click on it, it'll just show you all the highlights. It'll show you every shot attempt from any game that you want to. So I went down a rabbit hole and was very, very overwhelmed with what I found. But after cherry picking through some of the data, I think I really strengthened some of my arguments. So I'll try to have at least one advanced stat little nugget for most of these games today, because that's the wormhole that I went down. And I'm sure that they'll all blow up in my face. It's early in the season, small sample sizes, but we're looking for any straw to grasp onto at this point. All right, first up, we have the Washington Wizards traveling to the Hawks. You guys want to hear a quote? You want to hear a quote? The first quote out of Kyle Kuzma's mouth after their last loss to the Celtics? He said, and I quote, "We might lose a ton of games this year." Bro, you're 4 games in. You can't say that yet. I'm pretty sure that that's against the NBA bylaws. You have to at least act like you're trying. Another quote that I saw that was just so good was Koulibaly. He said, "We were not playing our basketball. That was not us. So we just need to be us." Actually, I think that was you. I think that was the problem. I know that you're a young player and you're trying to say the right things, but that's the Wizards. That's Jordan Poole. That's who he's going to be all year. So the line on this game is 7.5 to 8. It's about where it opened. And a couple programming notes here. The Wizards traveled yesterday to Atlanta. And you know what happens when you go to Atlanta for an extra few hours and you got some time to kill in Nap City? Jordan Poole skipped media after the Celtics loss. Probably went to go blow off some steam. And looking at our advanced cherry pick stat of the game, we have a big mismatch whenever it comes to fast break points. Hawks like to get out and run, and Washington gives up, I think they're bottom 3 in fast break points in the league. And the Hawks are top 5. Sleepy Washington coming into town, maybe not giving their best effort after a long night out, looking for the Hawks to run on the Wizards. Give me the Hawks! -8. Next up, we've got Portland at Detroit. Portland on a little Midwest road trip. They beat the Raptors the other night. Although I guess that's in Canada, but that's kind of like the Midwest. All of Canada pretty much has like Midwestern culture, right? I hope some people are offended by that comment. Detroit's favored by 4. It's kind of stayed where it opened at. Most of the bets and the money are on the Pistons. It's kind of hard to take the Blazers with anything less than like 7 points, I guess. The one thing to note here is Durant is questionable. And although I haven't loved what I've seen from the Blazers, they do have quite a bit of depth on the front line. Durant has been kind of a surprise bright spot for the Pistons. So if he's out, this kind of changes the way that I think about this game. But if he's playing, I think that the Blazers offense is a little bit too simplistic to get really good looks against a Monty Williams defense. Ausar Thompson is a problem on defense. Like I said, he probably played the best defense that I'd seen on SGA in a long time. And he's the kind of guy that you can just throw him on anyone on the perimeter that's giving you trouble. Say scoot for once. has a good game. Just throw Osar on him for 10 minutes, 8 minutes. See how he likes that. Oh, Matisse Thybulle's feeling himself? Take a little Thompson at you. So if Durant's playing, we're taking the Pistons, -4. Next up, we've got the Bucks traveling to Toronto, the Midwest of America's hat. And, oh my God. Do you guys smell that? Oh, that stinks. It's our fishy line of the night. The Bucks are favored by 4.5 in Toronto. And all of the money and all of the bets are on the Bucks? Why is this line not higher? Could it be that Toronto has the best three-point defense in the league and Milwaukee has the worst? Could it be that the Bucks are lowest in the league in assist numbers, going against a Toronto team that only does defense well? I think so. I think the public thinks they have an easy win on their hands, but not so fast. This is what we look for here on the grind. We know what we're doing sometimes, maybe. Get lucky, yeah? We're fading the public. We're fading the sharps. We're fading everybody. Give us Toronto +5, and if you're feeling crazy, maybe sprinkle a little on the money line. Actually, +165. That's not great odds on the money line. If you're getting 5 points on the spread for -110, just take the spread. Because although I do like them in this spot, the Raptors do suck. Next up, we've got the Brooklyn Nets traveling to Miami, where the Heat are currently 6-point favorites after opening up as 4-point favorites. The public is all over Miami here. I guess they heard my Cam Thomas slander. But I found some interesting stuff about these two teams whenever I was looking through some advanced stats. The Heat, listen to this, the Heat are dead last in effective field goal percentage in very tightly guarded and open shots. But they are leading the league in wide open shots, effective field goal percentage. So if you're right up on them, they can't make anything. And if you leave them open, they can't make anything. But if you don't even pay attention to them, they make everything. Now, if you look at the advanced stats for those numbers that are outside of 10-foot shots, they get a little bit less at the extremes, which is telling you that Miami can't finish at the rim unless it's wide open. And whenever you look at their roster, it makes a lot of sense. You've got Kyle Lowry, who's a pretty much set shooter with that big old booty of his. He's not really creating anything off the dribble. Defenses are allowed to focus in on Tyler Hero, make his life tough. But what I'm interested to see tonight lies on the Brooklyn side of the bench. At what point do they just start running Ben Simmons at the 5? I watched a couple games and it kind of stood out to me, and lo and behold, I found stats to back it up. All of the Nets' worst lineups involve Ben Simmons playing alongside another big to where he is running actual point guard. Ben Simmons is not a point guard. He's a point forward or a point center. You know why? Because one of the main things that makes someone a guard in the NBA is their ability to knock down an outside shot. He's not a point guard. He's 6'10". And all of their best lineups are whenever you have Ben Simmons playing alongside two of their other ball handler and creators. Usually Spencer Dinwiddie and Cam Thomas. Sometimes Lonnie Walker. It doesn't really matter which two of those three you plug in. It's their best lineups. You have so many more options whenever you run Ben Simmons at the 5. You create a total mismatch. How many 5s in the league can match up one-on-one with Ben Simmons without needing at least you shading his direction? Hopefully someone on Jacques Vaughn's staff is seeing what I'm seeing and they make the adjustment. That's what I'll be looking out for tonight. Public's all over the Heat. I'm going to take a blind leap of faith on Jacques Vaughn, and we're going to take the Nets +6. All right, next up we have a rematch from last night. The Cavaliers are going to the Knicks. They played last night in Cleveland. They both make the trip to the Big Apple. Last night the Knicks won by 18, I believe. And looking at the just now updated injury report, it looks like Donovan Mitchell is playing tonight after being a late clear, but questionable all day with a sore hammy. And RJ is questionable with some knee soreness. Public seems to like the Knicks here, which isn't shocking, and the Sharps are leaning towards the Cavs. RJ had a really good game last night, hit a couple corner threes, was really solid. I'd like to see him playing tonight. If he doesn't play, I'll be a little bit more hesitant. But watching that game last night, I don't think the Knicks got really any calls against the Cavs. I'd look for them to get a little bit more of a home whistle. And I just think that this is a bad matchup. I think Tibbs is a better coach than Bickerstaff. I think that it's a little bit better roster. We're going to hold off on locking anything in here. Check back right before the game tips. But leaning Knicks here. -6. Next up, we've got the Pacers traveling to Boston, where the Celtics are favored by 11.5. That's the biggest line of the night. Of note, Mathurin and Halliburton are currently questionable early in the season, and we're already just checking the injury report to have any idea what's going on in the NBA. It's a little annoying, but that's why you have the daily grind. What would you do without me? I sift through all of the crap so you've got some idea of what to expect whenever you turn on your league pass. And as much as you want to watch the injury report, sometimes it can lead you astray. Because here's the thing. Everybody that's in the NBA is pretty good, unless you're one of the Antetokounmpo brothers. So I think either way, give me the Pacers here, +11.5. But especially if Mathurin and Halliburton are late clears and they're going to play tonight. If they're both out, well, first off, you'd expect the line to move more. So that's another, we'll wait and see. But if things stay as they are and you get at least one out of the two, give me Indy. +11.5. Of note, all of the sharp money is on the Pacers. Like a lot. It's probably the biggest skew so far of the day. And it's early, it might even back out, but somebody came in and dumped a lot of money on the Pacers. Next up, we've got the Pelicans traveling to Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder, where the Thunder are 3.5-point favorites. Of note here, Brandon Ingram is questionable. And with him being questionable, in my eyes, Dyson Daniels becomes the X factor. Had a decent showing against the Warriors. Obviously, they lost. But the Pelicans are still thin off the bench with Najee Marshall, Alvarado, and Trey Murphy III all out still. This is one where you're kind of waiting to see what happens with B.I. Is he going to play? Is he going to be a scratch? But either way, I kind of like Oklahoma City at home to win. And, 4's not that many points to be laying, so I think that this line goes up if B.I.'s a scratch. Could see it going up to 5.5, 6. And so I'd like to go ahead and take the Thunder early. And if you watch the preseason tournament episodes, my boy Bertans, if you go in on the advanced stats, has some of the best lineups. Now, granted, he's only played in one game, but in that game, the plus and minus on it was great. Got some good shot opportunities. He came in, knocked down some threes. I think that they're going to see the light. I think that coaching staff is going to see the light. I think they understand that they need the wide, narrow shoulders of Davis Bertans. All right, next set of games, we've got the Hornets traveling to Houston to take on the Rockets. The Rockets opened up as 3-point favorites. Now it's about 2.5, 2, depending on where you're looking at. The Sharps seem to be a little bit on the Hornets, and I'm going to fade that. I think the Rockets get their first win of the year. They're at home. Ime Udoka's not going to let this team go 0-4. And sorry to burst everybody's bubbles, but if you go to the advanced stats, guess who's part of every, and I mean like just about literally every single good three-man lineup for the Rockets? That's right, NBA Twitter dumping ground Dillon Brooks. Literally 8 of the Rockets' top 11 three-man lineups have Dillon Brooks in them. Go argue with the toaster or whatever other kitchen appliance you've got a beef with. Because I don't want to hear it. Give me the Rockets at home for the win. -2.5, whatever you can get them at. Next up, we've got the defending champs, Denver Nuggets, traveling to Minnesota to take on the Timberwolves in a rematch of the first round Western Conference playoffs last year. The public loves Denver here. The sharp money's on Minnesota. I think I'm leaning Minnesota. The spread's 1.5 for the Nuggets. You want to hear that? I think we got a rat. I think we got our rat line of the night right here, boys. And girls and babies. If you think the Nuggets are going to win this game, wouldn't you think they're going to win by more than 1.5? How many squares are just lining up going, Nuggets, Timberwolves, that's a win because the big old joker going to put the ball in the basket. Look, Denver started off perfect for the season, but they got to drop one sometime, right? T-Wolves look like they're pretty healthy. Let's take them at home and hope for the best. What do you think? T-Wolves, +1.5. Although in some books you can get them all the way up to +3.5. So check your book. Next up, we've got the Chicago Bulls traveling to Dallas to take on the Mavericks, who are 4-point favorites. Kyrie has just recently been downgraded to doubtful for tonight. Which kind of changes my thinking about this. The interesting advanced stat that I found for this game was Dallas has hit 100% of their late shot clock threes so far this season. I didn't get the raw numbers, but I think they're like 4 for 4 or 6 for 6. It's pretty crazy. Even before Kyrie was being downgraded to doubtful, the Sharps were already on this line. My only pushback to that is I think that this is kind of a style matchup problem for the Bulls. The Mavs have the 6th fastest pace in the NBA, and the Bulls have a bottom 5. And the Bulls also just don't shoot a good field goal percentage. And if you're not playing at your pace, I can't expect that your field goal percentage is going to improve. With all of the public and all of the money going all over Chicago, they're zigging. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to zig as well, honestly. I think the pace of play for the Mavs slows down without Kyrie in there. Kyrie's hit some big shots so far this year from the corner on kickouts from Luka. You plug in the next man down, I'm not as confident in those. We'll take Chicago in the points, +4. All right, next up, my Memphis Grizzlies are traveling to Utah to take on the Jazz, where the Jazz are 1-point favorites, 1.5-point favorites. Public's all over the Jazz. The Sharps are not quite as convinced. A little bit more split. Look, I know that I've missed every Grizzlies game so far this year, but come on. Are the Grizzlies really going to go 0-5? Are they really that bad? Well, I looked in the stats, and they might be that bad, at least for right now. Think about how much they're going to suck whenever Ja comes back. That's a joke for all the people that said that the Grizzlies were better off without Ja Morant. That crowd's pretty quiet right now. The advanced stat that made me laugh out loud with the Grizzlies, just so you know how sloppy things have been, is they lead the league in loose balls recovered by like 10%, like a huge jump over the second team. But they're 19th in loose ball recovered percentage. So just a lot of loose balls on the Grizzlies side of things. They have more loose balls recovered on offense, I think, than some teams have loose balls on offense. Okay, that's enough of me saying balls. Call me a homer if you want to, but I'm taking the Grizzlies here. Fade me. Fade me if you think I'm wrong. But I just don't want to live in a world where the Grizzlies are 0-5, so I'm going to manifest it. Give me Memphis. All right, only 2 games left. We've got the Kings traveling to the Warriors, where the Warriors are 7-point favorites. The big note in this game is De'Aaron Fox is out tonight. He is a scratch. Trey Lyles is also out. Not as much of a note there. Kuminga is questionable. Saric is probable, as well as Clay. So I'm going to say something I didn't think that I was going to say this year. I kind of like the CP minutes for Golden State. Now that they're not starting him, now that he's coming off the bench. I said that after their first game. Didn't like him in the starting lineup. I think he clogs things up right where Steph and Clay like to not operate but run through. But with CP coming off the bench and Wiggins stepping into a scoring role with that second unit, the Warriors might be a little bit more dangerous than I thought they were going to be this year. With Fox out, I think Golden State's defense is really going to be able to stifle anything that's going through Sabonis. Draymond's back. They can throw Looney on him. Looney's bigger, weighs more. Looney's got freakishly long arms. That action that they like to run with Sabonis at the top of the key, I just don't see it being super successful on the road tonight. These teams have also already played this year. They played in Sacramento, and Steph put them to sleep. They won by 8. This is an in-state battle. These teams played in the playoffs last year. Maybe this is the beginning of somewhat of a rivalry. But I think the Warriors win tonight. I think they win by at least 7. Give me the Warriors. -7. And then last up tonight, we've got all the California teams playing each other. We've got the battle for LA. The Clippers are visiting the Lakers. Other than the Cavs and the Knicks, the Clippers are the only team playing tonight on a back-to-back. As we all know, it's been an eventful couple of days for the Clippers organization, and they are now apparently the darlings of the NBA. Public loves them here. Sharps love them here. The Lakers opened up as 2-point favorites, but it's now moved to 4.5 or 5, depending on where you're looking. The Clippers have not yet released their injury report. Maybe something is going on here that we're not expecting. All of the Clippers' big three, I think, have played all the games so far this year. Might be time for a rest? Or that's what I was thinking, but it's on ESPN. They're not allowed to do that anymore. So I'm going to wait on the injury report to come out here. But if nothing crazy comes out, or if somebody's definitely sitting for the Clippers, I'm going to fade all this money coming in on the Clippers and take the Lakers. -4, -4.5. I take them all the way up to -6. Seems like Vegas knows something. If the line's moving against the money, my ears perk up. Unfortunately, we've already awarded Fishy and Rat Line of the night, so I'm just a little stumped right here. But that's all of the plays for tonight. Thanks for listening along. Hopefully you tune in. Check out some NBA if you haven't this year. Tomorrow we're going to try to get in some under and over reactions to the early part of the season for each team. Bring on some guests to talk about their favorite teams. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, comment, share the videos with your friends. We're trying to spread the word here on the Daily Grind. Make sure to follow us over on Twitter at The Grind Pod and check it for updates on final plays for tonight's bets. Thanks again for listening. I'm Devin Murray, and this has been The Daily Grind.